Hey guys, we are back at the Scavver Tower near Abernathy Farm from the previous video, and today we are going to go over the build process and highlight some of the techniques I used in putting this structure together. Now there will not be a tour at the end of this video. I will leave a link in the description to the actual detailed tour that was uploaded a couple of days ago. You guys should go check that out. I think it ended up looking pretty cool, but I just split it up because I wanted to keep the video, at a reasonable length. Well, let's get started, shall we? So the idea with the bottom floor is that we're going to block off 3 of the 4 sides, so we just have one entrance into the tower. And as you can see, I've already blocked off this one side, and we're just going to add some floorboards so that we have a platform to build on top of the small shack we're going to put here. Now with those floorboards in place, we can go ahead and attach some of these quarter boards to just extend the platform out a little bit, give us a little bit more room to work with. Now for the opposite side of the tower, we're going to go ahead and utilize some of the shipping containers from the box houses mod, just to kind of change it up a little bit, give us something a little more interesting to look at, plus a little splash of color. I think it ends up working out pretty good. I end up changing up the makeup of this and adding a different color shipping container for the bottom, but the basic layout remains the same. Now for the upper level, we're going to use some of these shack wall and roofs from the metal tab, again to kind of change up the materials and make it look a little bit more scavenged. And what I'm doing here is just glitching the shack wall and roof into the floor that I put for the upper level. And by getting it really close to the actual electrical tower itself, it looks like the cross beams are supporting the upper part of this structure, and just kind of helps it meld in with the structure that was already here. That's just a matter of getting the height right, and then of course getting the pillars to line up with each other, and just using place everywhere to kind of inch things closer together. Looks pretty good. Nice. For the interior of the upper level, we're going to go ahead and use another shack wall and roof combo. This time we're going to use the wood version, and we're just going to snap it to the floor, and then we're going to use some of the supports from the Homemaker mod, the similar technique to what we used at Starlight Drive-In for the screen, and we're just going to go ahead and attach those supports to the side of the shipping container just to add a little bit of extra support for this upper level, since it is hanging off the side of the shipping container. And it's just a matter of getting the supports close enough to the shipping container so that, it looks like it's attached, but we don't want it to clip through the inside too much. Now it looked a little bit odd with the supports coming out so far beyond the edge of the shack wall and roof there, so we're just going to slide that over to the end of the supports. It'll look a little bit better, and will also provide us a little bit more floor space for the shack we're putting together up here. Now we just need to put a couple of these quarter floorboards in place, just so we don't have that big hole in the floor. They fit in pretty nicely. Back to the other side of the tower here, and we're going to go ahead and add some metal pieces to this wooden structure, just to kind of change it up a little bit. Again, add to the scavenged look of the place, and also provide a little hallway. Now the tower here really lends itself to multiple levels, and I really like using the bridges, to connect the different sides of the tower. It just helps it feel a little bit more junky, I guess. And we're going to go back into the metal tab, of course, just to change it up a little bit. And we're going to use some of these prefabs to just kind of piece together a little shack that's attached to the wooden shack here. Just getting the height right with the bridge. And then we can go ahead and snap on some wall pieces to just flesh it out a little bit. And we're going to use a little bit of metal and a little bit of wood just to kind of make it look a little bit more improvised. We'll of course use another shack wall and roof combo to create a hallway on the opposite side. And then of course a wood wall here just to change it up a little bit. I really like mixing the textures, just gives it a little more interesting look. Now to close off the back side of the tower here, we're going to go ahead and use one of these overturned semi-trucks. And I really like building on top of these trucks. They make a great foundation, especially for scavenged buildings. Has a really good wasteland field building on top of a vehicle like that. Just a matter of getting it in place and at the right height. Now, with the vehicle in place, we can go ahead and block off this opening here at the bottom. And we're going to use some of the corrugated steel pieces from the warehouse tab. Now, I like using the pieces from the warehouse tab just because they, they're kind of torn apart a little bit. They really add to the junky feel of any structure. And we're just going to go ahead and put them in there. And they are going to clip with the truck a little bit, but that looks okay because it makes it just look a little bit more junky, which is definitely fitting with the theme of this place. Now for the actual living space we're going to put on here, we're going to use one of the prefabs from the wood tab, the one with the angled roof there, and just a matter of lining it up and getting the roof so it touches all the way against the electrical tower. The prefab sticks over the edge of the truck there a little bit, so we're going to go ahead and use these shack columns just to make it look a little more realistic. And the idea is that we just line up the shack column with the pillar that already exists on the prefab. And now we're going to go ahead and close off the prefab here just to, complete the shack using corrugated steel. And then we're also going to use some of the just regular wood tabs just to vary the textures that we're looking at. Now I had a little bit of trouble getting one of the half walls to snap into place here to create the doorway to enter, the shack. So we're going to go ahead and just snap one of the full-size walls in place and then just use, that as a snap point to add in the other smaller walls. Now I could have just used place everywhere, but sometimes it's easier just to get the snap points just so it's perfectly straight. Now this tower is going to be pretty cramped when it's all said and done, and so I wanted to create a little bit of an open feel for this particular shack here. So we're going to be using some of these curtains here just to have a nice big opening, but it will look like you could close them if you wanted a little bit more privacy. Nice. So I went ahead and changed up the shipping container area a little bit and went ahead and added a shipping container that extends all the way to the truck. And I took that opportunity to change the color of it a little bit too, just to make it a little more interesting to look at. So now we're going to go ahead and close off this area, but you can see there's a little bit of a gap between the wall and the ceiling there. And so we can go ahead and just inch that a little bit closer using place everywhere. And we're going to go ahead and glitch another wall into place just to close up that gap real nicely. And once we get the roof in place, the gap is completely gone. Now we're back to the Homemaker tab, and we're going to use one of these junk walls here just to kind of add a little bit of wood texture to this side of the wall, and it will also provide a base for a small shack we're going to build in a little bit. Looks pretty good. Now we still have a gap on the other side of the shipping container, so again we're going to use another junk wall, and we're going to just put that in place to block off this side of the tower. So I've shown this technique off many times, most recently in Starlight Drive-In, but we're going to go ahead and just glitch two of these quarter floorboards here into the other side of the junk wall, so it looks like it's supported by the junk wall supports there. And then we're also going to have a nice little platform to put a turret on and maybe put some dogs underneath there as well. Now, since we're going to have kind of a makeshift doghouse here, we're going to go ahead and put some sides on just to offer a little bit of extra protection for those dogs. And we're going to use the half walls here from the wood tab, and we're just going to glitch it into place so it looks like it's been nailed to the junk wall here. Nice. Now on the other junk wall, we're going to go ahead and build a small shack, and we're going to start with one of these angled roofs here, and just a matter of glitching it in at the right height. Now I really wanted this place to feel extra cramped, so we're going to not put it at the top of the junk wall there, just making sure it doesn't clip with the electrical tower. And now we're just going to use some of the wooden walls here just to support the roof. Now you can see there it's a little bit too big, but using place everywhere we can actually just change the scale and shrink down the wall a little bit. Just a matter of finding the right size for the wall. I don't want it to stick out beyond the roof too much. It's okay if it sticks out a little bit, but you can see there it's just a little too much, so we're going to go ahead and shrink that down just slightly. Once we get into place, there it is. And now it fits into the roof perfectly. Just a matter of getting it placed right. Nice. Now I used a lot of floorboards in this build already, so for the floor of this shack, we're going to just use some of these pallets. We're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to use some of the, undamaged pallets as well as some of the broken apart pallets, just to, make the floor a little bit more interesting. And it's just a matter of glitching them into place, and it's okay if the height's not exactly matching. It just provides a little bit more to the kind of scavenged look, especially since the ground here is really uneven. With the shack now complete, we're going to go ahead and just add a little fire here, provide a little bit of light, also a little bit of character to this particular section of the tower. We're just going to take the fire and sink it into this concrete slab there a little bit, close enough, but we don't want it to clip with the metal supports at all. Just a matter of getting it right and so it doesn't stick out of the concrete there. Takes a little finagling, but I eventually get it in there. Nice. Now to work on the front a little bit, we're going to use one of these capsule modules here just to create another living quarters here and also close off this gap in the middle just so we have to funnel everyone who wants to come into the tower down one corridor. And we're going to grab another junk wall and we're going to go ahead and use it to close off the rest of this front area here. Just a matter of getting it lined up so it doesn't clip with any of the metal supports, and then getting the height right so that it looks like it's resting on top of the concrete slab there. Yeah, looks pretty good. Now we're going to take some of these ply boards and we're just going to place them on top of the supports for the junk wall here, just so we have a little bit of a platform so we can use it as storage basically. And it also provides a little bit of a different texture there. Now that the bottom level is complete, we're going to go ahead and work on the mid-level, and we're just going to close off the structure here, the first one that we started building, and we're just going to use some of the half walls and just kind of glitch them together. Because we're using kind of a odd shaped building, we can't just snap all of the walls in place. We're going to have to use place everywhere to kind of make makeshift walls. Now to change up the look of the wall there a little bit, we're going to use some of these window boards and just kind of glitch them into place just so it breaks up the texture a little bit. And I've also used these particular half walls a few other places in the build and just kind of make it look a little different. And on the front here, I want to place a turret, and it doesn't look quite right with the grating on the floor there, so we're going to go ahead and use some of these ply boards just to fill it out a little bit. And once again, we have one of the shack wall and roof combos. This time we're using a wood one, and it's the same technique we used on the shipping container side, and we're just going to go ahead and use place everywhere to glitch it into place. Now we're going to go ahead and add a roof to this little shack here, and since we're going to be building on top of this, we're going to go ahead and use floorboards once again and just use place everywhere to kind of glitch all the pieces together. Now on the opposite side, we're going to go ahead and build a metal shack, and it's just a matter of getting the walls lined up and snapping some roofs into place. Now I had a little bit of trouble snapping them in, so you can see here I just had to go a roundabout way to get them to snap. And I'll have to say, I love place everywhere. You're able to just kind of inch things together using the numpad and just slide that on over, and then do the same thing with the wall. It's really great because it allows you to build kind of non-standard sized structures and just kind of change the way things look a little bit. Now to close off this interior, we're going to go ahead and use one of the shack wall and roof combos, also from the metal tab there. And we're just going to kind of glitch it into place so that the metal supports for the tower kind of clip through it, so it looks like it's attached and being supported by that tower. Nice. The structure is complete. We just need ways to get, up and down through the various levels, and I had a little bit of trouble figuring out exactly how to do that with staircases just because they take up so much space. So we're going to go ahead and use a bunch of ladders just to get up and down through the different levels, and we didn't have a ladder here that was the exact right height, so I'm just going to go ahead and glitch two of these smaller ladders together, and they fit together pretty well. You can barely tell, as long as you, get the rungs the right distance apart. Just a matter of using place everywhere yet again to get that height right. So you can see, you can't really even tell. Nice. So I needed a way to get from this balcony to the other balcony, so we're going to go ahead and use conduits to build a rope bridge. Now, I got this technique from Stacy over at Stacy Plays, and it's really awesome. So basically, you set 2 conduits down, and then you just need to connect the wire. Now, it's really important that you get the wire as straight as you can. It just helps when you're placing the floor conduits down as the actual planks that you walk across. So you can see here, I'm just trying to line it up correctly. That looks pretty good. Now, as far as placing the conduits down, you just want to get them, so they're a decent distance apart. Not too close, not too far. That's about right. And then as far as the height goes, just so that the wire clips through the conduit and it looks like it's actually being, supported by that wire. And then you just keep adding them along. Now sometimes you're going to have to jump from side to side just so that you can see, exactly what the distance is. It's hard to tell sometimes. And you can see here just getting the height. I want to make sure it clips through. Nice. Now I did have to create a few other ladders, and in an effort not to use the same ladders over and over again, we're going to go ahead and build our own ladder, again using conduits. And this time we're going to use these curved conduits for the main supports, and then we're going to use the same floor conduits we used in the rope bridge to create the rungs for the ladder. And this is just a matter of getting the height right, and we want it to, clip through the wall just so it looks like it's attached, but not too much so that, it sticks through the other side. And that looks pretty good. Maybe just a little bit more. There it is. Nice. And then we go ahead and place another conduit for the first rung, just so we know the exact distance we need to have for the other support beam. And this one is really important that you get straight because it's going to determine, all of the rest of the rungs. So I like having it so that it sticks through completely, and then you just gotta slide it forward just a little bit. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. And just like with the rope bridge, you want to go ahead and make sure we're getting the rungs the right space apart. Otherwise it just looks off, and you'll know when it's off just by looking at it. So you can see here, I just want to get the placement right, and then of course get them so that they're clipping through the supports. Nice. Look at that. So here we are. The build is complete, and I think it has a really nice scavenged look to it. You can see the different mix of materials there, as well as the turrets and sandbags placed around. I added quite a bit of detail to the interior, as well as some junk piles on the outside. Ended up looking pretty good. Now, I don't have a full detailed tour here. We're just going to do a quick spin around the outside. Now, I do have a detailed tour that I uploaded a couple days ago, and there's a link to that in the description. You guys should check that out if you want to see how everything turned out on the inside. But I think it looks great. Now, if you guys enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like. Leave me a comment down below if you want any more information on how I did something particular, or if you just have any ideas for me or any thoughts about this build or any of my other builds. Subscribe if you want to see when my next video goes live. It's either going to be continuing here at my first Conquest build. I also need to go back and finish Starlight Drive-In. Not 100% sure what I want to build there, so it probably won't be there. And then I also have an idea for turning the small island that Croup Manor is on into an entire raider island. So, yeah, if you have any ideas about that, let me know that too. I hope to see you guys in the next video, and until then, enjoy your time in the Commonwealth.